on the fan. Paul, welcome. How are you?
Well, I can't complain. I mean, exciting times for me and my family, to tell you the truth.
Absolutely. So let me start there. Your number is as some people have said, finally getting retired. You're a part of that dynasty in the late 90s and such an iconic player. What was your first emotion when you found out about it? And did you know that it was coming?
I did not. I mean, I was totally surprised. About 3 days ago, Debbie Timon, who's head of the media relations with the Yankees, called. And, I usually have conversations with her over the off season with events and things like that. And it started out with a conversation, and then all of a sudden she told me, hey, we've sat down and the Steinbrenners are committed to retiring your number. I basically dropped the phone and it's just something you never expect, especially with the Yankee organization, with the unbelievable names, history, the tradition, and everything that goes along with the Yankees. But probably the biggest accomplishment that I've been given since I played baseball.
Yeah, no, and it is amazing. And you think about every kid who's starts to play a game, whether it's football or baseball or basketball, whatever it is, and you just want to work your ass off and be as good as you can. And you did that every night, every day. I think that's why Yankees fans, revere you. That work ethic got you to the majors, and you went to Cincinnati. And I read this, and you didn't pick 21. They just kind of gave it to you. Why did it stick?
Well, you know what? I kind of had a liking towards that number. I remember the first Major League Baseball game. I've told this story a lot recently that I went to was in Old Crosley Field in Cincinnati, Ohio. I was about 10 years old, and my dad kind of positioned me in the upper deck to take a picture. And in the background of that picture was Roberto Clemente.
Oh, wow.
And obviously that number all of a sudden became something that I thought was really cool. And then when I was issued that number in Cincinnati, you start looking at some of the people who have worn the number, but Roberto Clemente was always the staple that you thought about. And I was fortunate enough to, when I got to the Yankees, that nobody was wearing the number, and I got to use it my whole career.
Now, if someone had been wearing the number, what would you have offered to get it, or would you have just let it slide?
You know what? You do become, a number becomes part of you in sport. Yeah. It's just something that, I can remember my high school numbers. I can remember minor league numbers. And now it just becomes something that, you feel that is yours. And, like I said, when I got there, 21 was available. And then, when we traded for Roger Clemens, there was some talk that, Roger's going to offer you this or this because he was 21 in Boston. And obviously, now that I look back at that, I really have to thank him because he never pushed the issue. And it was just a decision that I didn't have to make. I was more than comfortable to stick with 21.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of cool how history just kind of works out in the right way, especially for you. We're talking to Paul O'Neill here on The Fan, whose number's getting retired August 21st. You have any idea what you're going to say, or what that emotion's going to be like in real time? It's been a long time since you were actually on the field, but what you're going to say? Like, what are you going to draw from?
Well, not really. I mean, obviously your family's kind of around you and your teammates that meant so much. And, this is really a personal thing, but where, you look back at everything that was accomplished was kind of a team thing. And that's why New York people fell in love with those teams in the 90s, not just because they had, the Derek Jeters and the Posadas and Marianos. It's because we won championships, and that's what's remembered. And at the time it was almost normal, but now that you look back at it, very hard to do in professional sports to continually win, no matter what group of people you have together. And that's why when you look back at those times, it makes it much more special, that knowing how hard it is to continue to do.
Yeah, you talk about that core four, and Andy Pettitte was part of that as well. Paul,
Mm-hmm.
you came into that from the outside. What was the dynamic when you were obviously a huge part of those championships, but they kind of all came up together? What was the dynamic like as another outside star coming into that?
Yeah, I came at kind of the perfect time. Leaving Cincinnati, we had won a World Series in 1990, and then the team was kind of trying to figure out where they were going. And when I was traded to the Yankees, it was at a time where the Yankees had not won a lot. And they brought in players, Jimmy Key, Wade Boggs, and all of a sudden you could start to see the wheels kind of in motion of that team getting better. And then 95, we had that heartbreaking loss in the playoffs against the Mariners. But 95 was the first September that, we had Jeter and we had Posada, and you could see that, the young kids were coming. And a lot of times when you're in a position of winning, young players don't fit in immediately. But it just goes to show you how good and, how lucky we were as an organization to have Pettit, Mariano, Posada, Jeter immediately impact and become part of an unbelievable team.
Yeah, Buck Showalter was obviously there, and then Torrey became the skip. What effect did that have? Because with the different managerial styles, obviously Mets fans are eager for this now as he is their skip. But what effect did that have, flipping from Buck to Torrey?
Well, Buck was a big part of that organization and churning that organization around, as was Don Mattingly. And they kind of, they left the same year. The team turned around. We got to the playoffs in 95, was, on its way somewhere. And then all of a sudden, Joe Torre coming in, it just seemed like he and Don Zimmer, just the perfect people for that spot. He understood people, he understood players. And he understood how long a season is, the ups and downs, and how to deal with it from the manager's perspective to keep it away from the players. And that's hard to do in New York. So he absolutely was the perfect guy for that team.
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes we hear people refer to success as luck, but I think there's an intentionality to it. But this feels like it was almost lucky that all of you guys came together at the same time, at the right time, that led to the dynasty. You chalk it up more to like a plan, or was this something that just you're just serendipitous?
Yeah, it was kind of like the perfect storm. Obviously we had great young players coming up. Joe Torre, still hungry as a manager. He had done so much professionally as a player, but as a manager, still hadn't won. But then it seemed like everything that we added, we added David Justice one year, we added Cecil Fielder, Charlie Hayes, they fit the right spot.
Yeah.
They didn't come in and try to change this team, and that was the importance of it.
Yeah.
And I think Joe Torre had a lot to do with that. And then looking back, I have so much respect for Mr. Steinbrenner for trying to keep that team together. As well as I do, when teams win,
Yep.
people expect to be paid. And, he did have to overpay for some players, but he kept that team together and gave us an opportunity to really, really, do some special things.
We're talking to Paul O'Neill, a Yankee legend here. His number's going to get retired in August 21st of this season, assuming the baseball season happens. I think it is going to happen. But put your analyst hat on right now, Paul, before we let you go. This thing is starting to get a little bit less optimistic with some of the threats that are coming out. We know where the two sides lay on this. The biggest thing that can turn this the right way so that we get spring training started and opening day on time would be what, in your opinion?
Well, I think if you get players back in camp first week in March, I think you shorten spring training, which is a little long from a everyday player's point of view anyway. I think it is important to start the season. You don't want to start the season on a negative note by missing games, but I'm a fan now. Now that I'm not a player, I do the games. I'm a fan. We need baseball. We want baseball. And, there's so much to look forward to as far as, some of the young talent out on the field now. You just hope that this thing gets done. It's in the rearview mirror and people can enjoy the game of baseball.
Yeah. The biggest point, if you're a player right now, would be what? What do you need to have to make this thing go forward and acquiesce to an extent what the owners are asking to do?
Well, I think that you have to realize that players are very strong in the union, and they have been ever since Marvin Miller, changed things in baseball. And there are certain things that owners need, certain things that players need. But, negotiations, I don't understand why. I don't care if it's baseball. I don't care if it's a traffic ticket. It goes down to the last minute. And, I think that it could be done in a day if they really wanted it to, but it'll go down to the last minute until somebody, holds the last card. And then hopefully it will be done, and we can look forward to a great summer in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, let's hope so. Paul O'Neill, hey, I appreciate you hopping on for a couple of minutes. I know you're busy and you're running right now, but thanks for taking a few minutes to hop on and talk a little bit about this iconic moment that's going to happen in your life come midsummer. So appreciate you, Paul, and good luck to you.
Well, I can't thank you people in New York and the fans enough. It's special times for me. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Most certainly, you as well. Paul O'Neill, number 21, is going to get retired on August 21st. That's obviously it's appropriate, but it's awesome. And I hope that things work out the right way so that date doesn't get compromised.